wishes to discuss with the Minister for Education and Skills the need to deliver the new school in Monasterevin and increase capacity at second level in Athy, in Kilcullen and in Newbridge. Deputy O'Loughlin.
Thank you, Ceann Comhairle, and I wish today to raise the very frustrating situation in St Paul's in Monasterevin. We did have the opportunity to speak at length yesterday at the Education Committee, but I do obviously have to be very brief here. This school in 2004, Minister, was declared structurally unsound, but is still there in all its glory with more than double its numbers and only 2 toilet cubicles for 207 boys, no staff room, damp prefabs, erratic heat and no gym. I want to commend the staff, the principal and the school community for the wonderful work that they do, and their principal, Brian Bergen, gave great account of the excellent school community, but they're incredibly frustrated. There's 2 particular questions I want to put to you, Minister. Can you say whether the process of acquiring the site has been finalised, the site that has been on the horizon for the last 15 years, and also can you say when the design element will be finalised? I would say to you that Monasterevin is served very well by the principal and staff of St Paul's, but sadly they are not served well by the state. Coming to the second part of the issue, at last week's announcement of the 16 new second-level schools, Kildare South, despite having been on the 215 list, were left off the list, and I find this just incredible. I believe the figures that the department are talking about do not stack up, and I honestly believe that there is no political will by the Fine Gael government to deliver a new second-level school in South Kildare, despite the figures that have been provided. We have the fastest-growing region in the country. Between 2011 and 2016, the population of the area grew at 143% of the state's growth rate. In the South Kildare Educate Together report that was sent to you last August, it was noted that in 7 years there will be 400+ students without a school place, and yet, Minister, you don't see that as a problem. I understand that numbers come into it, but yesterday the committee were told by the department that they are seeking 1,250 extra places in accommodation in existing schools to meet the demand. Now, surely the answer to that would have been the provision of a new second-level school in South Kildare.
Well, thanks very much indeed. I'd like to thank both deputies for raising this issue, and I can understand their concerns. Firstly, I'd like to assure Deputy O'Loughlin that decisions on where schools should locate is not a political issue. It's not a political decision. It's not made by ministers. It's made by the department, and they treat every one of the 314 planning areas in the same fashion, and they evaluate them fairly against demographic profiles that they have based on existing child benefit payments, school enrolments and local authority plans for housing development in the area. So it's based on the best available information that is available to them, and every area is treated equally. In respect of this question, there are 5 schools that have projects on the planning, on the department's planning plan for the next 6 years, and that is really the background to the assessment of needs that has occurred here. I can understand the Deputy's concern about St Paul's in Monasterevin, and indeed I know, Ceann Comhairle, that you share those concerns. It has been on the 6-year programme. It is currently at stage 2B, the detailed design stage, where the planning applications, the fire search, the disability access cert and so on was provided. The schools submitted their completed stage 2B report by the design team on the 10th of April of this month. And it's envisaged, raised, that the review will be completed by the end of April. In February, the department wrote to the school and the design team to give them an outline of the projected time frame, because they were acutely aware of the concern that this should be subject to no delay. And they outlined the elements: the pre-qualification taking 8 to 12 weeks, the steps required to ensure the school will be a near zero energy building, which is a requirement, then the progression to tender stage. A tender stage normally takes between 7 and 8 months, and they have projected a commencement of construction in the 3rd quarter of 2019. 2017. As Deputy Hayden asked, the Department indicated, and I can confirm, that if the design team can deliver the project to proceed to construction at an early time frame, the Department will reprofile accordingly. In terms of the site, the Department is in the process of acquiring a site at Moore Abbey, Monstreven. Agreement in principle was achieved some time back in April 2013, but the vendor insisted that full planning permission be obtained prior to the sale being completed, and that full planning permission was secured in July 2017. The current state of play is that the Chief State Solicitor's Office is working with the legal representative of the landowners with a view to concluding the conveyance. The Department is absolutely committed to the completion of that school. The other projects, St Conleth's in Newbridge, it is currently on site and intake is due for September 2018. The Athy Community College, that again is a devolved project to Kildare Wicklow ETB, and the delivery of that building project will increase the capacity at the school by 600 pupils, with a long-term projected enrolment of 1,000. The Cross and Passion Secondary School, I think that's Kilcullen, it's progressing. A technical site visit has been undertaken at that site. The delivery of this project will increase the capacity at the school by 200 pupil places, and it's at project brief stage. The Patrician College in Newbridge, it also is at project brief stage, and a site visit to the school has been undertaken. The Department will be in contact with that school in regard to that, and the project, when completed, will provide capacity for approximately 900 students. So it's against the background of that. I understand the Department has assessed that 1,700 additional school places are planned to be delivered in the schools that have been set out there. They also anticipate some growth in the Kildare town planning area, but they anticipate that that level of demand there can be met by way of extending the capacity of existing provision. Now, obviously, these assessments are kept under continuous review by the planning section of my department, but that is the basis on which the decision was made by the department, and obviously, you know, the data on which they made that decision is objective and assembled from independent sources.
Deputy O'Loughlin.
Thank you for your response, Minister. And while I welcome the delivery, certainly, of accommodation in Newbridge, Kilcullen and Athy, I'm still confused as to why Kildare South was on a list in 2015 and not on a list in 2018. So are we suggesting that there was a political will 3 years ago, and that political will is gone at this point? I cannot understand, in a county where the population is growing exponentially, that it would have gone backwards in terms of a list. Galway was included in the review of 2015, and now they're included for a new build. Can the Minister show figures that illustrate why Galway was chosen and that Kildare wasn't? In relation to the GIS system, and I know we had a long conversation yesterday with the officials, I certainly believe that it's outdated and that it is not as accurate as one would hope. I'm pleased to hear that you will be continuing to review South Kildare, but I still need a rationale in terms of why it was not included. Also, a particular issue is the provision of ASD units. We have 64 at primary level and only 18 in second level, and I don't see the provision of that being included. In St Paul's, can I just say to you, Minister, this is of absolute urgency. The staff and students are in a very difficult, challenging education environment. Morale is really low, and we absolutely need to have very fast delivery in relation to this school.